This video is going to show you a solo Grandmaster Nightfall on a solo Titan using the exotic heavy Leviathan's Breath as a result of the poll that you see before you. This is roughly after 12 hours after I posted the poll. 37% of you wanted Leviathan's Breath, so that was the winner out of the others, as you can see the rest of the results. So that's why we're doing said run. So if you're not aware of what I'm doing with this, I'll explain. I'll give a brief explanation of what I'm doing in terms of Grandmaster content for this season. So the Grandmaster Selector node obviously changed a season or two ago, where it comes at the start of the season, meaning that you can guild your Conqueror seal early, which is a good thing. But there's also a bad thing, because you lose the checkpoint. Once you do it, it marks it off the list, avoiding you farm in certain runs. It's difficult for me for content, because once I commit to a run on a whatever character, that's then gone. The checkpoint's gone. I can't do it again. I might want to experiment with this build or that build. On different Nightfalls, it's not just Armsdale. We're just starting out with Armsdale because that's the easiest one, and then we'll go through them all, of course, with a poll for each, an interactive poll for people, so viewers can vote on their favourite one. And then after, I'll say 12 hours, I did say originally 24, but after 12 hours or so, I'll look at what's the clear winner and then run with that loadout. But that doesn't mean to say I can't run a Nightfall again and do another poll as the season goes along. This is how I'm sort of varying for this season. The downside is I'm not going to get loot, and I'm not going to gild my seal until near the end of the season, which to me, I'm in no rush to be gilding any seals for Conqueror. Like, how many times have we already gilded it anyways? So it's not a fuss to me to sort of get it day one. Oh, I've got gilded Conqueror, because it doesn't matter. All the Grandmasters are easy this season. However, we can sort of make things interesting by using the GM sandbox, if you like, by using different loadouts. Right? It gives me a chance to experiment. It gives viewers a chance to ask for certain builds, or pick their favourite one that I suggest. So that's the whole idea of it. So as I say, I give you the suggestions in the poll. If you didn't see or you didn't vote, keep an eye out for them. If you don't know how that works, just if you subscribe to me and you watch my stuff, it will come on your home feed when you're scrolling through YouTube on your phone or whatever. It'll just happen to come up. Polls are weird. If you're unsure, just go on my channel and go on the community tab, and it's on there, and you'll see it. So I'll try and get the polls out as, you know, in advance, because it's going to be 12 hours to then sort of wait for that out to then do the run. So just understand that I'll try and get the polls out beforehand, you know, before I even sort of, you know, think about doing the run itself, you know. But I'll think of some ideas for each one, and we'll just go through them all. So as I said, we're using Leviathan's Breath because that's what you voted for. Is this weapon good? Yes, it is. It's been buffed. It does a huge amount of damage to champions, especially unstoppable champions, because it's got unstoppable built in it, of course, which I guess that's why people have picked it. And a lot more people are starting to use it now. Armsdale is a solar acute burn. It's not void, but it's still doing insane damage, right? For the fact that it's not even void. So imagine on a void. Imagine on inside Terminus. Inside Terminus is void. So it's worth running on that as well. Not to say that I'm gonna run inside Terminus Leviathan's Breath first go. Probably something else I suggest, because I've already run Leviathan's Breath just right now today. So in terms of everything else, we're using Soul 3.0 Titan with the exotic chestplate Heart of Inmost light setup. We're using weapon-wise Vouchsafe, which is a workhorse of a weapon. It's like one of the best scout rifles in the game, period, for the legendary and void. And then we're using a I forget the name of this pulse rifle, but it's got adaptive munitions on it. It's the dungeon one, Purpose, whatever it's called, or New Purpose or something. It's got adaptive munitions, and let me tell you, it's very good. It eats these shields. I can't believe how good it is. It's good on barriers, not good on unmatched shields. Thankfully, in this one though, there's barely any shields. There's only void, and our Vouchsafe and our bow will deal with that. So the purpose of the kinetic pulse is just barriers, and it does a real good damn job at it. The scout is for general ad clear and take on void shields, and also assist them with unstoppable champs. Like, if I don't feel like using my bow for whatever reason, I can use my unstoppable scout. And I've got Revitalizing Blast on, which saves on ammo. It does insane damage to champs even on GM difficulty. Now I'm not using Solar Fulmination, if that's how you pronounce it, whatever. And I know that stacks with the what do you call it? The Revitalizing Blast. The problem is you can't run Classy Restoration, and it's not a problem for me to run this without Classy Restoration, but I'm going to run it with Classy Restoration because I know that people are going to use that. So I'm just going to simulate what it would look like when you're using Classy. And I'll do the GMs without Classy as well. That's another category. Don't use Solar or don't use Classy Restoration because we know how sort of broken and powerful it is. So I can do them without and with and without. It doesn't make much odds to me. But this is the first run, so with the first sort of runs of something, you always go with the easier stuff. And Leviathan's Breath, as I say, is insane. And there's actually something that's come up about with the Leviathan's Breath to my attention, and I'll bring it up at the final boss. And I couldn't believe how well it was. Like, if you just want to see about the boss, skip to that. There'll be times. I'll get timestamps on this one, I guess. It's very good. So with this orb, as you can see, I'm taking things in phases. So the orb is linked to the ad spawns in this area. So if you bring the orb so far, you get a barrier, 2 barriers. You get no ship. See, if you bring the orb all the way to this section, you get 2 champions, the Thresher, and the snipers. It's a lot of stuff to deal with. So rather than do it like that, do it in stages. Don't bring the orb so far. Do the orb at the very end. Make this a little bit easier for you. Then you're not having to deal with multiple things at once. We're going to spawn kill the ads from this door to our right with a grenade and a throwing hammer to sort of just deal with that, because we don't want the ads hitting us in the back. We can skip them and we have the right to do that, but I'm not going to. Right, I'm just going to clear them out as you would. And they might drop ammo as well. There's always a possibility. You want to go with plenty of Leviathan's Breath when you're coming up to the double tank room, which is not far off coming. We'll just finish this champ with Roaring Flames, the hammer, which is doing really good damage on these GM champs. So I'll use a variation of sort of that and the bow. So I'm not just spamming the bow, alright, but I am using it enough to sort of showcase what the bow is like in endgame, and it is very good. I used to use it in GMs all the time when it wasn't good, because it was more of a solo challenge run, because you would use a poor weapon and see if you could do it. But now it's not classed as a poor weapon anymore. It's classed as, right, this weapon's actually useful for GM Nightfalls. Quote, that is actually, it is actually useful, and it is actually useful. Somebody in your team running it, someone said, right, I'm going to use Leviathan's Breath. That's like the same thing as saying, I'm going to use Witherhoard. I'm the Witherhoard user, or I'm the Leviathan's Breath user, because it's that good. Imagine 3 people with it. I would love to see a team do a team run where 3 people use this bow. You would literally just one cycle all the unstops. It would really be good that way. But yeah, with this section here, obviously if you want to get platinum, then you want to come over here, skip all the ads, and then just focus the champ. We're charged with Light Notice, which I farmed from the previous area. I showed the loadout at the start of the video, but I can sort of cover it briefly here. We're using a high energy fire elemental well build. The way to synergize the elemental wells with the high energy fire is to have a bridging mod, like high elemental charge. Picking up an elemental well of any element will give you charge of light. So I've got Reap and Wellmaker, which I understand is void, and I'm on solar, so there's no synergy, but it doesn't matter. Because of how good Reap and Wellmaker is of getting charge of light, it's so valuable. I'm still getting what I want out of it. I'm not really looking at a grenade setup. I'm not looking at like Font of Wisdom, so I'm not too fussed that way. I just want my high energy fire, because high energy fire stacks with the buff, the solar buff, Radiant. Let's see if I can get this hammer. I think I did as well. That's good. So we're actually charge of light, and we've got Radiant right now. So we'll try and get the shots in on this tank as much as possible. Right, but once the ads start to push, you've got to back up a little bit. With the other types of weapons, you could probably one cycle that tank before those ads push. Leviathan's Breath, that is a drawback to it. It's slow. It's a slow weapon. It's not meant to be a fast weapon though. Well, actually, with the catalyst, it does speed it up a little bit. It gives you archer's tempo, which is noticeable once you're doing damage over and over to a single target. You sort of do notice it. It is a bit of a difference to what it used to be when it was without the catalyst. I recommend if you're going to do a run like this, definitely grind out the catalyst before you start, just to get the most out of the weapon, so you're having fun with it, because that's more what this is, you know, to run it for fun. So the tank's still alive, the ads are still aggroed on this entrance. What you've got to understand is they're like, the ads in this game are kind of like wolves. They hunt in packs, but when there's less of them, they push back in the map or the arena, wherever you're fighting. They will push back to where other champions may be, or whatever. And it's the same for this. So say like there's roughly half of the cabal are taken out, the ads will actually push back. And if the tank's taken out, then they'll definitely push back to where the barriers are, because they'll surround themselves where other champions are. Now there is an unstoppable here, but we're going to take that unstoppable out, which is actually kind of helpful, because you want to try and take that unstoppable out sooner rather than later, so that you don't have to mess around later getting the unstop. Watch the tank, because the tank does have a one-shot capability, so don't do that. Don't be mobile, be cautious of the tank, you know, don't just sit there. I mean, I'm actually doing a bad job of it right now, and I'm avoiding the tank, so it's not too much of a problem. Try and get crits on the tank. I was struggling. I could have swore that was a crit there on the back leg. We got a crit there at the end though, doing massive damage. Well, then we're going to use a super right here, because the ads are all grouped up. This is perfect. Not my play, but where the ads are positioned. See, the reason why they're hunkered to the wall like that is because the ads don't have the capability or the knowledge to sort of push past that entrance. So what's the next best thing? They hug the wall. They want them to come. It's sort of weird how AI works in this game. So they're hugging that wall, but I've used that to my advantage, because as I've just went out and showed my face, popped the super, and they've all died of the chain damage. Whereas if I would have been slowed by that, by the time I come out, the ads would start to loop back round to the barriers, and then they're going to blind you while you're dealing with them. Because these barriers, they have a range, right? So within a certain meterage, whether it be 30 meters, whatever it is in terms of the game, they'll start shooting at you. But then, like, say if you're 32 meters, 33, they don't. So you've got to know where they will shoot you and where they won't. And that's specific to each GM, because all the maps are different, of course. Like, Armsdale is quite spread out. It's quite open. Quite long range, so you can easily sort of take barriers from a distance. Now there's actually a strat on the back wall to take these two, but I'm not going to use it. I'm going to sort of play it with my barricade and do it like that instead, just showing you the power of tower and barricade. See, obviously if you're running like mid-game or low game stuff, you run rally barricade or raids. But when you're in GMs, I believe, for the most part, apart from Sentinel, you want to use Tower and Barricade just for its defensive capabilities. You can shield off barriers. You can confuse unstoppables. Unstoppable champions don't even know what the barricades are. You could really manipulate them on the Titan for the unstoppables, which you'll see more as we sort of approach more unstops. So the double barriers isn't much of a problem, as I said, as long as you use your barricade. And just remember, if you get blinded, you will lose your classy restoration. You will be slowed. Unless they've fixed it in a hotfix, which I haven't really been keeping a super keen eye on. I don't even know if it needs to be fixed. This might be intended. I'm not 100%. Like I say, I've been sort of out of touch with the game lately, not playing so much as I was at the start of the season. But I'll start playing a bit more now, since the GMs have come out and stuff. Make sure you activate the switch over the other side first before you activate switch 2, because if you activate this switch over here first, then when you go back, you'll have to go back over there, and then what I'm saying is the tank's going to drop out and you're going to be out of position. You want to be over this side, to be honest. I'm charging light notice, so I'm going to get a buff for the tank. I'll scorch that tank with my solar grenade first, then we'll try and get as many crits as possible before the tank starts to charge up that attack. he has done to my left. I'm just keeping an eye on that tank. He's literally dead now, just about the tank. Then our next focus is the unstops. You want to try and do some damage now while they're all grouped up, because the Revitalizing Blast is going to proc on all the champs, and it's going to mean that you're going to do so much splash damage. By the time they get to this ramp, you'll have killed basically all the champs, just about. We'll use our Barricade as well, just as a plan B. Now notice what happened there if you didn't play it back. I exploded a backpack, it come flying to me and nearly killed me, because Leviathan's Breath does like sort of knockback damage where it just knocks stuff all over the place. So it's actually knocked the backpack towards me, exploded and nearly killed me. That's physics in Destiny, which is actually kind of funny in some senses, how things can just, like Sod's Law, can just happen to you. We'll use a super to finish the tank, and then he adds up here. Now it's just the ultra. Just know that do an ammo run, but if you're gonna kill this ultra while you're here, stay up here and kill the dogs first, because the dogs will spread out and hide if you sort of kill and then go for ammo. So just sort of, you know, spawn kill the dogs is what I'm saying, with a nade or something, and then you can look for your ammo. Don't leave this room without looking for ammo. It's super important that you're stocking up on ammo each round. I've got Arrow Scavenger on, so we're getting 6 bows per brick, which is nearly a third of its total ammo capacity. It holds 15, so that's really good going. This is why it's a good weapon for Nightfalls, is because you've got to deal with a lot of high priority targets. You need a lot of ammo. You don't so much need DPS in this sort of content. You just need that sustained type of damage and sustained ammo economy, which is why things like Anarchy and Witherhoard are really good in these types of things, especially solo wise. Team wise it changes. You could sort of go that DPS route and melt all your champs like Divinity, etc., and do it like that. But when you're solo, you're not always melting like that. This is a bad example of it. A good example would be like Glassware. You know, it's a long run. You're there for you're there for a long time, so you better put on weapons that are really good ammo wise. So this is the room before the final boss. This room really just, there's nothing to it, literally just using my scout from a distance, and that's mainly it. My scout and my bow to assist with champs. Just remember that ads can teleport up here where I'm shooting this phalanx right here, right there. On rare occasions, barriers can spawn on top of here and actually could stomp you, like if on top of your head. They can spawn on top of your head. It has happened to me in the past. Not this season so far, so they might have ironed that out. But just know that ads can actually teleport. The legionaries definitely are still doing that. So just be aware of it. That's why it's actually nice in this entire room just to scout the whole thing. Or pulse these phalanxes, obviously, because it's barrier pulse. We can bypass their shield and just do damage to them. One thing I haven't mentioned, which I'm going to mention now, is about the boss fight. About the style of content that we're doing with the GMs, which I never mentioned. There's two golden rules I would say with doing this, because the GM selector node, I will lose the checkpoint upon completion, which means I can't rerun it and I can't do other loadouts. That's true for all the GMs. So a way around this is to do a partial completion, like let's call it a 95% completion. But I'm classing it as a completion because two things: leave the final boss to 5% HP on any GM that I'm doing, and also make sure that there's no threats around, so that I could comfortably kill the boss if I was to continue for the next few minutes and clear the run safely and comfortably. As long as those two conditions meet, I would class that as a completion. Then go to orbit, Then I've kept the checkpoint. I understand I'm not going to get the loot. I'm not going to get platinum rank to proc, even though I have got platinum rank, because I haven't killed the final boss. So just understand what I'm doing. I'm not backing out for, you know, for silliness, right? If anything, I'm putting more work in, more than what I should be. But again, it's what we're having to deal with. We've, you know, I want to make content around endgame stuff, like proper endgame stuff, and we can't really do that. Not over the span of time of the seasons where you're waiting for weeks and weeks for stuff, you know. And it's kind of like you can just smash your Conqueror Gilded off in one day, or even, you know, a few days, whatever, and then you're done for the season. Go and play other games. What else is there to do? You know, it's like, well, grind red border weapons. Well, yeah, I want to do that, and I want to God roll craft, but they're too low of a drop rate. So then I'm just playing Leviathan, and I don't want to play Leviathan. This is low game, easy stuff. No challenge to the players who want to challenge. So it's like mindless to shooting aliens. And I don't mind that, but I've been doing that all season, leveling up. So I'm ready now for the challenge stuff. But you give me challenge for 1 week, and then it's taken away by the selector node, which is what I don't like. And I think they need to sort of change up that. I don't know how they go about it, because they don't want us farming certain GMs. It's just a case of, well, I'm not budging on my opinion, and they wouldn't budge on theirs. So we're a stalemate. So we improvise in the game. Don't get the clear. Go to Warbit, and then just keep doing it, and I'll guild my Conqueror at the near the end of the season. I'm in no rush to be guilding this seal. What's the rush for? There's nothing on your Conqueror to say exactly what date you got it. You know, there will be on third party sites, but does it matter? Doesn't matter. You know, what matters to me is execution, doing different loadouts. How do you associate this loadout with this encounter? Is it gonna be worthwhile running? Well, actually, surprise, it was worked out better than you thought, or worse than you thought. And the content is endless. Like the ideas, but the way of doing it in game isn't, because you do one clear and it's over. So it's just how it is. What I'm doing with these double barriers is I'm gonna isolate each one. So that I do that by peeking this corner, so that the champ on the bridge doesn't get aggroed onto me. Right, aggro means so that, you know, they're firing at me and stuff like that. And that way I've just dealt with one champ at a time. We've isolated each champ away from each other. You want to start trying to do that in GMs. Is try and start isolating stuff from other stuff. Like you saw there, I got that champ weak. He went for a shield break. It gave me a moment of an opportunity to take out some legionnaires, because the scorched earth is on. Okay, so it's increased grenades for those, and because of solar acute burn, they do a bit of damage to you. They used to do huge amounts of damage. Now it's not too bad because of the resilience change. And you can tank a lot more stuff now in GMs. GMs are now more approachable to everybody because of the resilience stat change. And to be honest, I've been asking for it since 2018 to like late 2017. We done the test back then, and we told them resilience didn't work. We've only just got it now, which is really baffling. So they could have done this. I don't know who decided to do the resilience stat change, but they've done a decent job. That's good. But where were you at? This should have been in 2017. The resilience should have worked like this, or something near. So we've worked with a broken resilience stat for years, for 6 years. That to me is not good enough. Well, a few amount of years, you know. So, but it sorted the game out. So we're now on track with endgame. We now know what we're doing. Less stuff's going to kill you random. More, you're going to be more consistent. So it's going to be more relied on you as a player. If you're failing more now in GMs, then it's more to do with you rather than the game. Because the game's now giving you opportunity to sort of get the right setup for GMs, get the right resistance, because you get 40% damage resistance at tier 10 resilience. You can stack other resistance mods on top of that, but that's a huge amount. I've just got tier 9, which was enough for me, because I allowed for other mods in the build right, to synergize, to get everything working together. And I run Ember of Singeing, which gives me more class ability when I scorch targets, which is very key for the boss coming up. So how we deal with the boss fight, this is going to be showing you the exploit. That's been out for a long time. The first thing you want to do is you need to be cautious of this boss. Learn it. It's nothing like what it is on a strike. This boss is deadly on GM. If you're low enough in resilience, this boss will one-shot you with the sniper. At T9 resilience, I can confirm T9 resilience on Soul 3.0, he doesn't one-shot, but he breaks your shields. So that's something that you've got to really take account for, because this boss has a really good... his AI is so much improved to what it would be on over the lower difficulties that he can switch to your where your position is, like really fast. So the mechanics of how he snipes, his laser goes from green to orange to red. Right, but if he's aimed on you and it's green, you go behind cover, he'll stop for a moment, and if you re-peek at another side or something, he'll be still honed onto you and could instantly hit you, like super quick. The way to get round that is to let him snipe, because he'll take aim, and then if you're not peeked, if you don't peek, he will eventually snipe, and then that'll reset the sniper counter. So you need to know the timing of this boss, which is something that you would never think of. We've been running Armsdale for such a long time. You've never really needed to know that, but now you sort of do, because there is a danger, especially, as I say, if you run the wrong resilience, he will just one-shot you and that you run over. So what my goal is, right, you need to know HP triggers. Now, that's sort of something that's left the game on the new strikes. That now they're not HP triggers, they're now hard gates, damage gates, where you reach a damage gate and then the boss is immune no matter what you do, whether you spam coil, golden gun, doesn't matter. That boss is immune. This boss works on HP gates, which is actually a superior system. And what it means is when he gets to sort of a certain percentage, that boss will then initiate his next sort of transition, but you can still damage him, right? So what I'm doing here is, this is the stun lock of Leviathan's Breath. A lot of people have been mentioning about this. You can stun lock bosses if you keep getting your crits, get your archers tempos. Look at the knockback we're doing to him. So now, because of that stun lock I just done, that means the boss is now gonna be immune for up top, because this is actually a hard damage gate. He'll go up there and he'll put up his shield, and then he is actually immune at that point. So we've reached that damage gate, which was the goal, a third. If I wasn't as good with the Leviathan's Breath there, he would have been still damageable on his podium, which means he's gonna snipe us while we're fighting these adds, which is deadly. But doing what I just done with the optimization of getting the boss so he doesn't snipe us from up top means I can freely take these adds, I can use a super, and I can deal with the fresher. This can be still dangerous. The run's not over yet until you do with what I'm doing right now. So be sure to spam your abilities, your grenade, your barricade, stuff like that, and outstrafe the damage. You can't just sit. Don't be this thing where you're just sitting behind cover. You really need to learn the movement and sort of, outstrafe the adds. You can sit behind cover, obviously, if you've got your barricade and stuff. But the key is to get the fresher down first. Alright, that's the biggest thing. We haven't got solar, but we've got a thrown hammer, so we'll use that. Then we'll just take the Centurion, the rest of the adds. We've got a charge of light, which actually comes in super handy. And I don't think people know about this, but this is obviously the exploit. Now you can actually damage the boss via your solar grenades. You need solar grenade on. You can't use fusion grenade. You can't use swarm grenade. You can't use any other solar grenade. Has to be the solar grenade, the one that does the scorch, the more scorch. So as you can see, I can just use the Heart of Inmost Light. I'm going to speed up the footage at your leisure, and we're just going to do solar grenade, barricade, solar grenade, barricade. But we're also going to do Leviathan's Breath. You'll see that I'm actually doing damage with it. Just aim at the rim of his podium, and the splash damage of Leviathan's Breath will damage him. We have charge of light, so this sped up the run considerably because of that. So I was so surprised. I actually probably do remember this. I've just forgot that you could do it. But now that I remembered that, I used it, and sped up the whole thing. But as I said, with the 2 golden rules, get the boss to around 5% HP, and also have no threats in your area that could end your run, so that if you were to continue for the next 30 seconds or a minute, you would actually complete the run. And then I would count that as a run. And then that way, I can go to Orbit, I can publish the video, and then I could make another video with a different loadout for this one at a later time. Maybe not this week, weeks going by, because there's still a lot of weeks in the season left, right? So there might be something else that we will want to try. There's so many different loadout ideas I've got. Again, it's just that it's not a problem of getting ideas, it's a problem of keeping checkpoints. That is the hardest thing to me. But that's why I've come up with this idea here. So as I said, a run like this will be fine. You just keep doing this and obviously kill the boss. You get your platinum rewards. I don't even know what adept loot you're getting this week, but you would do that, and then the boss would die, you get your loot. But we'll get him to, as I say, as weak as we can, really, without losing our checkpoint. It would be a disaster if I lost my checkpoint right now. I don't want to lose checkpoint. So we'll just get him weak, slow the footage back down, and we'll just go to Orbit, and that's the interactive solo GM done for viewers. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.